Guru, what? I'm good. All right, right on. And Guru, everyone who is on right now, my name is Akile Anai. I'm the chair of the Justice with Three Young Black Girls campaign, as well as the director of agitation and propaganda for the African People's Socialist Party. And you are tuned into the fourth episode of the 3DBG webinar series. And today we're going to be talking about dual and contending power. And it's going to be an amazing webinar. I mean, I have some guests lined up for you today. I'll get into that in a moment. I just wanted to shout out to everybody who is on the live right now, everyone who will be coming on, and everyone who helped put this together in terms of the 3DBG committee. Salute to my comrades. And we put on these webinars every month to constantly get this case out to the masses, to let people know, about this case, what happened, what's the real story, and change the whole narrative that the Sheriff's Department, in bed with colonial media here and even around the world, put out around this case. And we're also, conducting these webinars because we have a serious amount of resources to raise in terms of the legal fees to win this, not only in the streets, to win this war of ideas in the streets, but to win this in the courtroom as well. So I really want to appreciate everybody for tuning in to this webinar. And I want to go ahead and lay out what our program is going to look like. I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about dual and contending power, what it is, what does that mean, what does that look like, and how does the 3DBG campaign, the murder of Dominique Battle and I know Ashanti Butler, how does that translate into why we need to build dual and contending power? I'll also be having two very special guests. I'm going to be interviewing Kunde Mwamvita, who is not only the mother of Dominique Battle, but her name means mother warrior, and that's exactly what she is. She also works in the office of Deputy Chair Akile, who leads all the economic development work of the African People's Socialist Party. So Kunde is going to talk to you more about what it is that she does and why building economic development and economic self-reliance is so important for African people. And then my second guest is a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee, as well as the secretary of the 3DBG campaign, on the ground in St. Louis right now, putting hands to brick, fighting for reparations to African people to have, the vision realized for the Black Power Blueprint, which is also being led by Deputy Chair Onezine Eshitela. And so we're going to be talking about what is the Black Power Blueprint, what does that look like, and what does it mean to be a white person in solidarity with African people having the right to be self-determining, self-governing, economically self-reliant. So sounds like a really good program. And I just want to let you guys know that anytime throughout this event, you can go to justice4dominiquebattle.com and make your contribution to this campaign here. If you're African, anything you have to donate, please do. And if you're white, reparations, to African people, to African children for the stolen lives, and say no more colonial police murder in our names. Visit justice4dominiquebattle.com. And let's get these resources raised. We have to raise $18,000 for the legal fees for this campaign, and we can do it. We can do it. And tonight we have a goal of $500. We have a goal of $500 tonight. So let's have those $100 realized tonight. So go ahead and make your contribution today. And so I want to talk about dual and contending power. And I want, to really say how amazing, I guess I should just salute the work of Deputy Chair Onezine Eshitela and all my comrades in St. Louis, Missouri, who is, fighting for, this territory and fighting to take back the African community that has been discarded. And you look around the conditions everywhere it is that we are around the world, where there's an African community and there's a white community, and you can see the differences. Because you can go to the white part of St. Louis, Missouri, and you can see the cafes, you can see the boutiques, you can see the nightlife, you can see all of that. And then when you go into the African community, you see abandoned buildings, you see homelessness, you see, drugs running rampant in your community, and you see the police. And it's a reality that it's just not something that, African people woke up one day and this happened to African people and this is our conditions. No, this is as a result of, this is a condition of colonialism. we have to look at it as that. And the reason why African people live like this and why white people get to live the way they do is because of that reality. Because white people in the white community lives at African people's expense. White people can have the boutiques and the cafes and the cars and the whole, and, you know, just a regular life in general. They can have all of that because the African community is suffering, and the Black Power blueprint is forging the way, bringing power into the hands of the African community, reclaiming land, and giving it and turning it over to African people. And, you know, and also showing even a way for white people to be able to participate in, you know, building that and showing white people's interest in building, you know, the Black Power blueprint. And so I do want to start off with that salute to Deputy Chair Onizane and all of the people who work in the office of Deputy Chair who, you know, just make this economic work happen within our movement, because we understand in this movement that the economic and the political are one, and politics is nothing but concentrated economics. Like that's exactly what it is. It's control over the resources. Right now, you have the right ruling class that has control over all the resources, and we can't be confused. You cannot. There is, you know, we are engaged in a war and a struggle to be independent African people, free of this kind of domination, free of, you know, the reign of white power and, you know, the boot that it has on our necks. We want nothing to do with it, but there is no independence short of economic self-reliance. You can't have it. You have to be able to feed, clothe, and house yourself, because as long as somebody else is doing that, as long as somebody else has the ability to take it away from you at any given point in time, as long as you don't have power over that, you can be left starving. And in these conditions and with, you know, welfare economies and, you know, all these attacks imposed on your community. So we have to have it and control it and own it for ourselves in the interest of the African working class. And that's exactly what it is that we're engaged in St. Louis and, you know, everywhere it is that we're building. And that's why it's so critical to build the economic, you know, portion of the work. We're not talking about Black capitalism. We're not talking about a couple of Black people starting their businesses and, you know, being entrepreneurs and all of it going to benefit white power at the end of the day. We're not talking about getting a couple Negroes some good jobs. We're talking about building the capacity for African people to be able to provide for ourselves, to be able to be self-governing, to be free of white power domination forever, and to wage this revolution, because we have a revolution to wage, and that costs resources. That costs resources to wage an international African revolution. We have to have the money, we have to have the institutions, we have to have it all in order to wage this revolution. And, you know, that is the goal, and that is what we're accomplishing with the Black Power Blueprint and just fighting for dual and contending power. And so what is dual and contending power? What does that mean? What does that look like? And we say dual and contending power because we're dealing with a social system. We're dealing with white power, and how you have to combat white power. You have to get it out of the way in order to do what it is that you have to do. We are revolutionaries. We have to wage a revolution. We have to compete with everything that white power throws at us, including its own media. You know, white power has its own radio stations, has its own newspapers, has its own, you know, broadcast stations, all those different things. White power gets to control that narrative. So what do? We build our own institutions, our own media institutions, to be able to combat white power and the white power institutions and the narrative that white power constantly enforces every single day. So we built our own radio station. We built Black Power 96.3 FM. We got 100.1 WUBP in St. Petersburg. And, you know, so we got the Burning Spear newspaper that's been in production since 1968, you know, and, you know, it was this newspaper that countered the narrative of, you know, the sheriff's department. And when they put out these lies and these slanders against Dominique Ashanti, against Kunde and her entire family, and, you know, and the whole African community at large, because the colonial ruling class media will constantly slander the African community and blame the conditions of poverty and despair on us. And so we built our own newspaper to be able to distribute to the world to say, no, this is not the case. This is the reality. And this is why we live and exist the way we do right now, and it's as a result of colonialism. And we also tie the question of Africa and African people together. We're not separate people, you know, and our fight is not separate. We're waging an international African revolution. So building the newspaper was a part of Duel and Contending Power. We have a situation where we have, just in St. Pete and wherever it is that we are, we have a damn food desert. There is no place that, we can get any kind of food and anything that we are able to get, or, anything that they throw at us, like in particular here. They said, okay, well, we give you a Walmart, right? And Walmart's supposed to mean something to us. Well, at least we got a grocery store, when that is not in our hands. So at any point in time, they want to take it away from us, which they did. They can do that because we don't own it. We don't have any control over it, let alone the fact that, Walmart is a parasitic capitalist corporation that requires stolen resources, stolen labor, or exploited labor in order to run, to be able to facilitate, and then comes to the African community and, sells expired products and, provides all this hostile treatment, got police at the door, let alone just, okay, so we had to build our own institutions. So we had to build One Africa, One Nation marketplaces. And, that's something that has to, that we've been doing in Philadelphia for years. And it's something that's going to be happening, soon on a consistent basis, even here in St. Pete. That's what we have to be involved in. We have to be involved in, bringing all the African vendors here into one location, and we create commerce and we circulate the resources within our own community. That's what we had to do to contend with the fact that, one, we don't have any genuine form of economic development in our community. Two, the stuff that they put in our community, we don't want it in our community. We don't want Walmart. We don't want Sweet Babe. We don't want Publix. We don't want none of the capital extraction that they have in our community. We want to be able to be economically self-reliant. So, this is what we're involved in. I mean, we build Uhuru Foods and Pies. We have booths in, we have these markets here in St. Pete. We have them in Oakland, California. Building the Uhuru Foods and Pies capacity, and it's not just food. It's food. It's great. It's good food. But, it's not even just the fact that, oh, okay, we're selling food. And, because people think the Uhuru movement, these radicals, they out here selling pies, though. And, it's a part of a greater strategy to be economically self-reliant. And also about health and wellness for African people and being able to distribute our own food, grow our own food, all of those things. That's what we have to have the ability to do that. Because you hear about all this stuff they put in foods now. Well, not now, they've been doing this, but the government got the GMOs and all this kind of stuff in your foods. None of it's healthy for you. So we have to have the capacity to be able to produce it for ourselves, because we're the only ones looking out for our community's well-being. We're the only ones who know that we have to survive because we have a job to do. So, building Uhuru Foods and Pies and bringing in resources that way, that is dual and contending power. It's contending with white power on every front, building our own institutions that are within, our own hands. And when we talk about dual and contending power, we're talking about a two-way end. And in particular, you want to go to, we're talking about St. Louis today. We're going to be talking about St. Louis a lot. And we're talking about the Black Power blueprint. And you look at St. Louis is like the protest capital of the world. Protests happening every other day about every other thing. And, and the people that are out there is not the African working class anymore. The initial resistance that happened in 2014 when they murdered Mike Brown, that was the African working class. And that was when we saw a shift in this era that we are in, where we saw the consciousness of the massive African people rising. And then you had white power bourgeoisie flooding in resources, George Soros, and then all these new organizations, Black Lives Matter, or Black Lives Moment, I like to call them. And, now they're being dumped into St. Louis. And now you have all these professional careerist protesters within St. Louis. And they put all these people there because that ain't going to get you nowhere. Because at the end of the day, you block a highway, and what is that going to do? What is blocking that highway going to do? There is no two-way into that. And of course, these people, these puppets, these neocolonial sellouts are put in place, and they tell you can protest all day to your heart's content, till you get tired, till you can't stomp, till you can't march no more. And that's it. You're tired out. So the African working class isn't out there protesting. You got all these white people out there protesting, the white liberals and the left protesting, but that's not the African working class. That's not anybody who wants something different, who wants to see a two-way end. But that is what white power pushed in front of the masses of people, because it leads you to nowhere. It's a political wasteland. And so we say, yeah, protest, demonstrate, but we have to have a 2 what in. And our 2 what in is the Black Power blueprint. Our 2 what in is, independence and freedom in African people's lifetime. That's our 2 what in. And we make that a reality when we are involved in projects like the Black Power blueprint. And, that's what makes this movement so completely different than any other movement or organization out there in the world. And in particular in St. Louis on the ground. Like if you in St. Louis and your group, your organization ain't talking about dual and contending power, is not talking about building institutions, you might want to question who you with, who you are part of. And if it's not talking about like institutions in the hands of the African working class, you have some questions you need to ask. And after you ask those questions, you go, you know what? I don't even need to answer. I'm just gonna volunteer with the Black Power blueprint. Like that's all you need to do. And I just want to talk about what the Black Power blueprint, like what all is happening with the Black Power blueprint, right? Because it is beautiful. And I only really saw it once. And this was in the stage where they were just, Deputy Chair Akile was just laying out, this is what we've acquired. This is the property that we've acquired. This is the vision for it. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to show a little bit about, how far we've come in terms of some of the developments that we've made. And y'all, it is breathtaking. You have the Uhuru House, the house that Black built, literally. And it's this beautiful project where the community is coming together. The African community is coming together. African and indigenous Mexican workers are coming together to build this project, are contracted to build this project. Volunteers bringing their children, and, white solidarity coming in and, just putting time to build the Uhuru House, our own community center where you can come, you can be able to rent, the Aquaba Hall, the hall for rental space, and then you have our offices. You have the ability to be able to conduct revolutionary work, and because White Power can give you a building, Democratic Party can give you a building, like they're not going to give you a damn building so you can plot on how to overthrow them. You got to get it yourself. And so the Uhuru House is, this just, I've seen the before and after pictures right now, and it's just so amazing. It's so beautiful. And we're going to be there pretty soon, actually, in April for the USM convention for the Black is Back Electoral Campaign School, and in October for our Congress, our 7th Congress. So, any of those dates, you need to just get your tickets and just head over there, or you need to go now and just start volunteering right now for the Black Power blueprint if you can. But so that's just the Uhuru House. And then across the street from the Uhuru House, you have these 2 abandoned, dilapidated buildings that have to be torn down because there's really nothing that can be done with them. But then there's going to be this massive lot where we can build a community garden, and there'll be One Africa, One Nation market places out there. We'll be able to host our Uhuru Halloween Haunted Nights, just like we do in St. Pete, right in St. Louis, which the community really, really appreciates. And just so many possibilities on this plot of land alone. And then you have all these other properties that, was acquired through, I think it's called the LRA, which is like their version of like the CRA here, and, really fought to take back those properties that would have been, just sold to the highest bidder, and they would have, built some, they would have pushed African people out and, would have built something on top of that and just completely discarded the African community. We took those houses back and we said, no, we're going to turn these over to the African community. We have this beautiful building that's going to house the Uhuru Jiko Cafe, Uhuru Jiko, which is Swahili for kitchen. And then, it's also going to be our bakery and cafe. It's also going to house the African Independence Workforce Program, which is going to be a program that, gives the skills, teaches the skills to African people coming out of prison who are hit with that no second chances thing when they come out. African people, when they come out of prison, you might as well be going right back into it, because you can't live outside of prison. You can't get hired anywhere. You can't get, have any form of economic development, anything for yourself. And, they lock you up while being so-called free. And so the African Independence Workforce Program is going to be opened up, in that space, and teaching African people skills and, you know, reintroducing them back into the world, so that they don't feel alone, that the world is on their shoulders. And it's also going to be the distribution place, so we can build Uhuru Foods and Pies there and everywhere it is that we are. I mean, we're really talking about doing this, having it in our own hands. It's gonna be ours, it's us. So there's, you know, Uhuru Jiko Kitchen. Did I miss anything? There's so much. Huh?
Community housing.
Yes, oh yeah, the community housing was what I was talking about in terms of acquiring those properties and turning them back over to the community. God, they're just, y'all, it's so much. But this is what it looks like, building dual and contending power. Because while gentrification is trying to sweep through the African community, you have, you know, the African People's Socialist Party, you have Deputy Chair Onis Nanchitela saying, hell no, get out of our community. We're taking all of this and we're going to make this community Black again. We're going to make it the Black community. And I mean, I could really talk about this all day. And just in terms of how this relates to the 3DBG campaign, you know, how this relates to African children, you know, not being murdered anymore. How does economic development within the African community prevent the murders of African children? And you look at the situation where the police are necessary within the African community because of the fact that white people have all the stolen resources, and African people are starving. African people, can't see a future, you know, in this social system, can't see a future. And the police are necessary to make sure that stays this case for, you know, for as long as it can remain, because you know, there's no future for capitalism. So the white community has everything it does at the expense of African people, so the police then become necessary. You have, you know, African people being forced out of our homes and being gentrified because white people are coming in, moving in, taking those homes, because real estate speculators are taking those homes. So the police are necessary to occupy the African community. And economic development for African people, and you know, talking about building dual and contending power, building Black community control of the police, which is dual and contending power with the current police force that functions as an occupied military force that, you know, in the favor of the ruling class and the white ruling class. We say build dual and contending power. We build Black community control of the police. We build economic development for the African community, so the police are not necessary in the African community. Because when you can feed, clothe, and house yourselves, you don't have to kill your brother or sister. You don't have to go out and participate in the illegal drug economy that's imposed upon you. You don't have to do any of that because you have the ability to be able to provide for yourself. You don't have to starve. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to see your mama suffer. You don't have to see your daddy suffer. You don't have to see your children suffer anymore because you have the ability to provide for yourself. And that's why building economic development is so important in our community, in getting these pigs out of our community, because that ensures a future for African people and our children. That ensures a future for African children. And that's why we have to build dual and contending power. That's why the work of the Black Power Blueprint is so important. That's why the economic and the political are one and the same, and we cannot overlook it. I've overtalked. I need to introduce my first guest. And that is my comrade, my inspiration, my just, y'all, this woman is amazing. Mother warrior, Kunde Mwamvita. Uhuru Kunde. And she recently had a birthday, so everybody say happy belated to Kunde Mwamvita.
Uhuru, everyone. Uhuru.
Happy revolutionary birthday. So I'm going to be interviewing Kunde, Comrade Kunde. I'm going to be asking you a few questions right now, you already know. So I want you to tell the people what specifically you do in the Office of Deputy Chair as the APDF Director here in St.
Okay. Well, me working in the Office of Deputy Chair Onis Nanchitela, I am the APDF, which is the African People's Education and Defense Funds Sales and Promotions Coordinator, which means that I go out into the African communities to bring in, you know, resources back into the Uhuru House for our programs and all our organizations that we have here in our institutions. And so, you know, I engage with the people and I tell them about, you know, how they can come here and have birthday parties and weddings and anniversaries and baby showers and, you know, just everything, all kinds of sorts of parties and things here. And also, you know, I talk to food truck vendors and caterers and, you event planners, and I talk to them and I tell them, come here, because this is what we're doing. We're building economic development for the African community, and this is the way to start. This is going to help you, when you bring your resources here. They're just not, going in just to, for our pockets. They're going in to be able to help these programs and these institutions, and not just here in St. Petersburg, Florida, but also in like Oakland, California, and St. Louis, Missouri, and, Washington, D.C., and all the places that we are, even, back home with, to Africa. The resources are generating to be able to help things for, our African people and African comrades all over the place.
Bro. So what institutions, okay. I want you to tell people what institutions are in St. Pete under APDF, and, because this is the original Black Power Blueprint.
Yes.
The OG.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we have the Tyrone Lewis Community Gym, which, we people come in, we have dance instructors, like our comrade KC.
Yeah.
We have different people come in and have personal training things and different kind of fitness and things going on there. We have our Carver Banquet Hall, like I spoke earlier, which, we people come in and rent out to hold, different kind of parties and events and things like that. We also have our outside lot, which is adjacent to the Hura House. And, that's where we hold our One Africa, One Nation marketplaces. That's where we hold our Hura Health Fairs. We have the Black Power 96.3 FM radio station, which, is a radio station for the African community. It's your radio station, point blank. No other thing said. You come in, you listen to it, you hear your own stuff on the radio. You're like, Mama, I'm on the radio. Because you really are on the radio. You're doing this for the African community. You're doing this for yourself to build and to further economic development between African people. And we also, I'm sorry. I think I can everything. Yeah, okay.
Did you talk about Chico?
Oh, yeah, I know what we're talking about. Then we have the Jico Community Kitchen. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so our Jico Kitchen is a licensed commercial kitchen. So food vendors, event planners, what have you. Even people who come into the Carver Hall can rent the Jico Kitchen and be able to, cook and build economic development for themselves. So we have like a lot of food vendors that come in. And, because they don't have the resources to buy these big old buildings, but they can have kitchens in there and stuff like that. And we also provide licensing through a Jico Kitchen so that they can be licensed, through the state or the city, whatever you call it, and, and have these licenses so that they can be able to be out there on the streets and, on the corners and be able to be in their own communities and sell these products. So they come here, they cook the products, and they go out there and they sell the products. And that's how we, there's economic development between and for us.
And there's also, Foods and Pies.
Yes.
Be out there.
Yeah. So we have our Saturday morning markets for the Foods and Pies. And I mean, like, we started with the market, I believe, with the pies back in October. And every Saturday, we have not came back with a pie yet.
Yes,
those pies we selling.
Yes, they good.
And I would like to say, it's not just Africans that do it. It's also our volunteers that come out and help us and support us, and and that's we have because they understand that economic development for the African community has to start somewhere, and they're willing to to jump on board and to help out to further that economic development into these African communities. So they don't mind coming out there with the Foods and Pies and getting their hands a little dirty, chopping up some tomatoes, avocados, or what have you, to help for this.
All right, some new stuff to the menu too.
It is. You got 20 cents on the market. If you want.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to tell we got a couple new pies too.
Oh, new pies?
Yes, we have our peach pies. We have our vegan pies for our vegan lovers because we got to eat healthy too.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have about maybe 4 different vegan pies, and then we have our regular, pies that we've been having all the time. And I mean, just like we have people come in and volunteer just to help bake pies, and that's just how powerful it is and what it really means to have economic and containment and empowerment for the African community. I mean, like people, they get it. They wake up and they understand that.
So are there any upcoming events right here in St. Pete?
We do. We have quite a few. We have a couple of baby showers that's coming up. We have a couple of birthday parties that's coming up that will be taking place in the Carver Hall. And we also have a very special event that's coming up in a couple of weeks. We have two of our comrades. We have Day and King Gozi. We're getting married in the Carver Hall, February 3rd. Yes. So be here. Yes. You're not going to want to miss that. Yes. Two African comrades come together to show you what it really means to, to build love for the Black community and to be in love and to help Duel and, empowerment over, their own lives, and not to have these, so-called state or, or these white folks that were telling them, you have to do this or do this by this way. No. And our very own Chairman Omali Yashitela will be there to preside over the wedding and to marry these two comrades.
Yes.
So, yes.
And what's the second one? You said the wedding. Or you said, or did we talk about two comrades?
We talking about two comrades. Oh, okay, yes, so we talking about King Gozi and was my yesterday.
And just in terms of, like, I know this wasn't on part of the initial questions, but I wanted to talk about, what happened here in St. Pete in terms of, MLK Day and how, because really without Kunde and, the leadership of Deputy Chair and what she laid out, just about vendors and things like that, because on Martin Luther King Day, if you haven't already heard about it, right here in the African community in St. Pete, our community was contained, but even before that, it was our community, our community is being assaulted all the time, and we're being gentrified, and they wanted to strip any means of our community to be able to provide for ourselves. And they have banned any vendor from vending at the parade or even in our community.
Yes.
And it was our community, it was our, event, this MLK Day Music Fest, and our lot that had the only vendors. And, it was Kunde and Deputy Chair to really lay out, this is what it looks like, this is, where they have to be, just, all that. And, really the African community here and all around, the world needs to see that, this happening continuously. And I know that it's going to kick off. So I'm really excited. So I think the last question that I have is a really important question. Why we say economic development versus police containment. That was a really big, that's always been something that we've raised, the Uhuru movement, always a policy of economic development versus police containment. We said it in 2001 when Chairman ran for mayor in St. Pete, and we said it last year when I ran for city council and Jesse ran for mayor, especially because this question of this campaign, the 3DPT campaign, came up all the time. So I just wanted to ask you why we say economic development versus police containment.
Well, we say economic development versus police containment because, especially in the African community, because we need our people to wake up and to understand and realize that police containment, it means just that, to contain us, to keep us, so we can be able to move and disperse amongst each other and, build with each other and, be there for each other like we are intended to do. And like if you look at the times in Africa, when before the colonizers came over there and started raping and beating us and torturing us and stuff like that, we'll see that our African ancestors, they lived with each other, they lived amongst each other. You had whole families with mothers and grandfathers, and so just whole families staying in these villages together, working the land, eating the fruits from the land and stuff like that. And with this police containment, like especially on MLK Day, the police come into our neighborhoods and, they put all these police officers in our neighborhoods, whatever, only to do harm to us. And they always say to protect and to serve. But to me, they're just running cowards, because the first thing they want to say is, I fear for my life. But how can you fear for your life if you chasing behind somebody else? How do you not say we're not fearing for our lives? And so having economic development means, being able to come together, again, and build commerce and economic development and, build housings and, live off the land and what we're supposed to, and to be able to, to be able to be with each other and to be able to help govern our own lives and have freedom of our own lives. Because right now, this is not freedom. You live in a hellhole. Seriously, that's just point blank. That's what it is. It's just that's what it is. You living in hell every day because you have African people out here starving. You have African people out here freezing to death, especially like in St. Louis, Missouri, where you find African bodies in garbage cans because it's so freaking cold out there. But they don't have housing. They don't have all the, they don't have any of this stuff that belongs to them. And this land is not the white people's land. It's not the colonizers' land. This land was stolen from the indigenous and the Mexican people. And this land needs to go back to them. They need to, they need to turn our resources to the African communities. And they're always saying that, you have black on black crimes, horizontal violence is what it is. But if you give us back our resources, if you give us back what is ours, if you, get out of our community, and I'm talking about the kids, the police, the state, if they get out of our community, if they leave us alone and they let us, be how we are supposed to be. We're supposed to be a free people, but we're not. And and then they jail our children, and they jail our men and our women behind all these crazy nuts and stains or whatever. And then but then they're the ones that are making the money off of it. like you see in Oakland, California, how they take these prisoners and they put them out there and help them put out these fires and stuff. And I'm like, that's not right. Then you only pay them $1 a day, but they risking their lives. That's what you could say is risking their lives. They should have been one that's saying they fear their lives. Not these police officers who's just standing on the side with these guns and and stuff, and these cars, and they could be able to build barricades with these cars and their bodies and stuff, and block off whole communities.
Right.
And we're not talking about neighborhood associations either, because that's crazy. That's nonsense. How you gonna name a neighborhood when you have Africans standing all over? You cannot section off us. We are one. We are a whole, and our people need to realize that we need to be able to take back our lives, be able to take back our, our resources, be able to, and we have to do this by coming together. We have to unite with each other. We have to stop fighting each other and fight the state, because that's the problem. The state is the problem, and that's where everything lays at the hands of the state. You don't see Black people, let's say petty boo, or they just so brainwashed and neo and all that stuff, whatever, crazy. But other than that, you don't see Black people out here, running each other down and killing each other and shooting each other up like that and stuff, whatever. And then saying, "Oh, I fear for my life." You don't see that. You don't see Black people pushing children into ponds and then they saying, "Oh, I fear for my life." But they can stand around and watch them and carelessly hold conversations, but they fear for their lives. You don't see that with Africans. Africans don't do stuff like that. What we do is we provide. We make ways. We take a house that don't have lights in it and be able to put heat in it. We go out and get blankets and sheets or whatever we have to do to, so that our children and our families are warm during cold, winters. Mm-hmm. We know how to, have food for our families. And, even if we don't have enough to feed the whole family, we make sure that at least the children are fed, because our children are our future. And right now, these children don't have a future. We have to understand that. And right now we don't see that, and people are not seeing it. They're not working on it. They think that this is the future. They think because, okay, my kids go to school and they make these good grades and they, they're going to college and they're playing football. And that's one. No, hell no. That is not a future for our people. That's not a future for African people at all, period, point blank. When you get out of Africa, when these colonizers, these white folks, and, get out of Africa and leave our resources alone and stop stealing from us and stop beating us and raping us and murdering us, when you stop all of that, because if you don't, you're going to die. And white people and the colonizers, y'all are going to die. All of this is going to be overturned. And either you be on the right side of the line or you're on the wrong side of the line. And I suggest you join the solidarity movement, or some solidariness needs to come into you play, so that you can understand that you are a colonizer and you need to be able to pay reparations and overturn those contradictions that you are facing as a colonizer. Because when it comes down to it, there's only one race that's going to be one, and that's the African race. We were here before the white people, and we're going to be here afterwards. And that's just point blank what it is. So all I want to say is, the last thing I want to say is that if you're like me and you want to build economic development for the African community, and not just saying people all over the world, then you need to join the Vendors Association. It's an association that I'm trying to put together with vendors who were affected by MLK Day. And I know, vendors are all over. They came from Bradenton and Sarasota, and, some traveled further than that just to be here for MLK Day, and then were contained and, held, with these police officers walking around with guns and, badges out saying that they can't even be on the street corner. They can't even go into certain stores because these police was all over the place. And it is crazy. And so if you want to overturn these contradictions, if you really, really want to put an end to this craziness, to this state and these contradictions, you need to join the Vendor Association team. You need to contact me at the Her House, and let's start and let's go forward to freedom for our people.
I really want to appreciate that call to action to join the Vendors Association team.
Yes.
And that's going to be so critical. We have the space and we have the science. We just need you, and we need you to be serious about, doing this, because we can do it. We can do it. We have done it. And we're doing it right now as we speak. And you have to be a part of this. You have to be a part of making the future for African people. And, and I just really want to salute Comrade Kunde for all of your hard work within, the economic development work and, paving that way forward for African children and African people as a whole, and not stopping until African people are free, because that's what, is being said. Like, the conditions don't stop. You have to be a free people. You have to work towards freedom, and it's not gonna, it's not gonna happen, just you by yourself, and you start your no. It has to be African people have to be united on this agenda right here, and that is what Comrade Kunde, obviously you are a part of. We just really, really appreciate that, and I just really unite with what you're putting forward. That African people are going to win.
Yes.
After this is not a permanent situation. What we're experiencing right now, this is not a permanent situation. African children will be able to run around in these streets freely, and African parents will never have to worry ever again that something has happened to their child. Will never have to deal with that reality ever again. And African parents will get to be with their children because they won't be at no damn job, 3 jobs in a day, to be able to provide for your children. That won't happen anymore because African people will have our resources, and we'll have built the capacity to feed, clothe, and house ourselves, which is the mission.
Yes.
Is it APDF?
APDF.
Yes, it's the mission of APDF. So I really want to salute you, Comrade Kunde. Thank you so much for being a part of this interview. And I'm sure Kunde is uniting with me when I say, right now, if you haven't already, if you're waiting on it, stop waiting. Go to justice number 4, DominiqueBattle.com, and go ahead and submit your contribution. And we're trying to raise $500 by the end of tonight, and I know we can do it. We can build economic development for an entire African community. We can raise $500 tonight for these legal fees. So thank you, Comrade Kunde.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. But we're not stopping there. No, we're not stopping there. In fact, we are only just beginning. So the next guest I have is comrade of the African People Solidarity Committee, as well as my secretary, right hand. For the 3DBG campaign, we have KC Mackey. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on KC. Uhuru.
Can you see me? Sweet. Uhuru, everyone.
Uhuru. Okay. So really my case for being on this webinar. I know you did. You just saw that powerful presentation from Kunde Mwamvita. Was extremely powerful, really inspiring, and we're going to dive into this discussion even further because she said, "White people get on the right side." That's what she said. Right now is the time more than ever because African people, right now in this world, and all colonized people and oppressed people around the world are, in this process. I don't know if anybody, knows the situation in North Korea right now, where the term juche, which is self-determination, that is what the leader of so-called North Korea is saying. That's what we're building this year. We're building the ability to be self-determining people, economically self-reliant. We're taking out all foreign everything out of this community. That's what we're doing. The people of the world are engaged in this process. White people have to get on the right side of the question. And so we're gonna talk about the right side of the question for white people. And KC is gonna really lay that out for us. So first question, KC, why do you support the 3DBG campaign as a white person?
Uhuru. So I'm just gonna, apparently there's an echo. So I'm gonna mute one of these and just say, well, first of all, I'm really, really honored to be on this webinar. And I just really want to appreciate Kunde Mwamvita for that amazing presentation and all the work that she does to bring economic development to the Black community, not just in St. Petersburg, but cities across the country. Her stance is so powerful because when the police murder African children that have mothers and fathers and family members, what happens then is the state coerces them into silence and isolates them. So not only have they just lost their loved one, but then they're continue to be traumatized by seeing their children and their family members criminalized and their stories not believed and just treated so terribly. And Kunde just refused to be silent and has been out there fighting every single day. And I just really, really appreciate the stance of Kunde Mwamvita. And I thought that was an amazing presentation and totally unite that white people, we have a choice to make. We have to unite with the oppressed peoples of the world and understand how they experience the world under white colonial domination. And why I support this campaign, it's because it's part of a genocide against African people enacted in white people's name. Ever since white people attacked Africa and stole African human beings and all their resources to save ourselves from our situation in Europe in an icebox in a freezer, we established this parasitic relationship with African people. And if we honestly look at history, ever since then, that relationship between Black people and white people, all we see is unspeakable violence committed against the Black community by white people. And if we weren't doing it, we were just watching it. But a lot of us were actually doing it and still do it. From slavery to lynch mobs to Jim Crow terror, and now with what we call police brutality, which is just colonialism. And if there's a genocide happening in our name, we can't not take we have to take a stand. If we don't do anything, we're on the side of the oppressor. So that's why I support this campaign, because I see two choices, standing with the oppressed or with the oppressor. And I want to stand with the oppressed. It's Black or white. We either support Kunde or we support Sheriff Killer Bob Gualtieri. We either participate in defending African children or we participate in slandering them. And also, what happened to Dominique, Lanaya, and Ashanti would never happen to white girls. We all know that. We know that if those had been 3 white girls, it just wouldn't have happened, because we see the police every day. If a white person crashes their car into a pond, first of all, they would not have been chased by the police, which is what happened to those 3 girls. But second of all, when it does happen, where a white person's in a dangerous situation, the police go in all the time to save them. We see stories like that. And, that's because white people have a different relationship to the state. Because the United States, it's a white people state, founded on slavery and genocide, and that is the basis of our existence as white people. So the most pressing question for white people is how to rectify our brutal relationship to African people and to the rest of the world and be in solidarity to end this violence. How do we do that? Because we have to remember that there was not a single charge ever brought against a white person who lynched an African person. So now is the time to change that legacy. You want to bring charges against a white person that lynched Africans? Let's start now by raising these legal fees to charge the sheriff's deputies that murdered those girls and to charge Sheriff Killer Bob Gualtieri with murder and with genocide and get him out of his position as the deputy who's supposed to protect and serve, but has this track record of murdering African children. And so, as a white person, it just has to be an imperative to support reparations to the families of Dominique, Lanaya, and Ashanti, to support reparations to all families who have had losses based due to police brutality, to all African people, and just realize that no mother should have to lose her child to this horrific violence. Because, it's like white people are in this epidemic where we're killing ourselves. We take our lives for granted. Yet African people are mourning because they are dying under genocide. So while we're killing ourselves, African people are struggling to survive. That just shows clearly that there's 2 Americas and 2 realities. And this genocide might be over by now if it weren't for the stance of white people historically. We've never organized ourselves to really stop the white power system that our ancestors created for us and that we inherited and that we benefit from. So if the white population can organize ourselves to pay $1 million to Darren Wilson for killing a Black teenager named Mike Brown, then surely white people that are against that can organize ourselves even better to raise even more resources to support the struggle of African people to have power over their lives and their communities. This is the only way we can even call ourselves human, by taking a loud stand, by taking a material stand against this terror. Uhuru.
Uhuru. I guess that gets into my next question. So how do what do we say that looks like? White people taking a material stand in solidarity with African people, and we call that reparations. So, why? I mean, I guess you laid out why, you support this campaign, and that goes into why you would support reparations to African people. But you can elaborate on, reparations. What does that mean, and why do you support that to African people?
So I support reparations to African people. I organize for reparations to African people because all white people owe reparations to African people. And that is a matter of historical fact. Because we have a relationship to the violence that happens in the Black community. And the history of white people is one where we have been extensions of the state, which is built on violence against African people. So I know that there's a whole political understanding out there that the US government owes reparations for slavery. There's articles about it. I see white people that say, yeah, I support reparations, but talking about it in this abstract way of, yeah, the government should write a check. But what we don't realize is that white people are the US government. Because before the police existed, before there were Pinellas County Sheriff's Departments, there was just lynch mobs of white people that played the role of the state before the state was even established. We lynched, we burned, we raped. White women were the main demographic of people responsible for the torture and lynching of African men because we would claim that they would whistled at us or even just looked at us. That accusation alone was why Rosewood was burned to the ground. Rosewood was a thriving African economy where African people had their own economic life. They were able to exchange commerce and be able to basically live practically independently from the colonial economic system that was clearly not meeting their interests. I mean, ever since slavery, African people have been struggling to regain their self-determination and control their own resources, which is what we mean when we're talking about economic development. And every time they've tried to do that, the response from the white power system, including regular white people, has been to destroy it and burn it to the ground, because somehow we see ourselves in opposition to that. So this is why we owe reparations, because we have to do more than unlearning racism. Because racism, as Chairman Omali Yeshitela has said, and I just really want to put forward Chairman Omali Yeshitela before I continue, because it is because of his struggle to understand the role of white people in solidarity. It is because his sacrifices to build the African People's Socialist Party and its white organization, the African People's Solidarity Committee, that I can even be on this webinar and be saying all these things and understanding the question of reparations because of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And he said that racism is the ideological underpinning of parasitic capitalism, a system that was born from Europe's assault on Africa and African people that enriched the entire white population, white workers and the white rulers. White workers too, even poor white people, have maintained our existence on the pedestal of the enslavement of African people, on the genocide of African people, and on the genocide of the indigenous people and theft of this land. And that this land has to go back to the indigenous people, and all the resources of Africa and African people have to go back to African people in their hands for their own benefit. And that's why every single white person owes reparations, not just the US government, every single white person. Everything we have is a consequence of 600 years of terror and torture against African people committed with our complicity. And so that's why we have to pay them not just to a single African person, but we owe reparations to the entire African nation. We can't just do charity and say, here's a few bucks so that you won't starve today because all of my people are living off of all the stolen resources of your people. Why we pay them to the African People's Socialist Party and their economic programs is because they're building a future for all African people that is led by the African working class, who will always fight for the interests of African people as an entire nation and never for a few at the expense of the whole. They're building the seed of a liberated economy that is based on liberation and socialism, where everyone can have what they need and begin to thrive, where our resources and labor are being exchanged not for profit, but for the actual benefit of society as a whole. That's what Black Star Industries is doing. That's what Kunde Mwamvita just described. That's what she's on the front lines fighting for every single day. So that's what reparations in action really looks like. And we owe it to African people. So, you know, that's why we owe reparations. That's why we need to pay them today.
And also, I just want to, before we continue, really salute Sharon saluting Chairman Amali Shatella for the brilliance, his leadership. And this is all him, you know, for us to be able to participate in this discussion, for the Black Power blueprint to even be possible, for the strategy of even this campaign to fight for Dominique, Lanai, and Ashanti, because we could just be out protesting and not know what the hell we're doing, but we know what we're doing because Chairman Amali Shatella said this is how struggle happens. This is what it looks like, and gave it a science to it. So really, I have to salute the leadership of Chairman Amali Shatella, and yes, and appreciate you know, what we've heard so far from Comrade KC, and we're not done. So I want, because you were just recently deployed to St. Louis from Boston, and yes, and it's Planets, it's Kev. It was probably one of the greatest decisions ever made. And, you know, so I wanted you to tell people what the work it is that you do in St. Louis. What do you see happening surrounding the Black Power blueprint? And, you know, what it's like having gone from Boston to here and being a part of building the Black Power blueprint.
Well, I just want to say it's really amazing to be here. Like, that day that I got the phone call from Chairwoman Penny Hess saying that the party had asked me to move to St. Louis, it was a no-brainer. I was like, yes, because I'd already been to St. Louis for the conference of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement and got a tour of what the party was building. Because I was already, you know, being in the Solidarity movement for almost 2 years, I was already aware that the party had been building for 45 years concrete, tangible institutions that were concrete, you know, expressions of African self-government. And then I got to go to St. Louis and see that it's continuing exponentially, and that I got to see the beginning of the new Uhuru House. And I got to say that when we first got there, you know, I was like, this is going to be an Uhuru House, because the floor was rotting out of the bottom and we couldn't go in the basement. It was a little scary. We were all like holding hands, like walking around all the holes in the floor. And then we went to Uhuru Jiko Kitchen and just saw this gorgeous building, this commercial building that had been abandoned. And then we saw some of the housing units that the party had got, and just, it was so clear that the party takes very seriously building the capacity of African people to be able to feed, clothe, and house themselves as a free people, as they once were before white people disrupted history and stole them from their homeland and dispersed them across the world to build this disgusting, vicious system of violence. And so I want to show y'all some pictures. Well, first, actually, before I say that, you know, being in St. Louis, it's really significant to build the Uhuru Solidarity movement here under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, because after the Ferguson uprising, you know, you had this amazing resistance of African workers that were saying, no, you can't just keep killing us and us not going to do anything about it. It's not going down like that anymore. The response from white people was to arm ourselves. We were like, oh my God, the Black people are coming, you know? And that's exactly what Akile was talking about earlier, is that with the state, you have the split between the haves and the have-nots, where the haves have as a consequence of the not-haves not having, and the police are right there to protect the resources that white people stole from African people. And, you know, deep down, white people have an understanding of this, but we don't have a real way to articulate it or to understand that reparations is a solution to change that reality. And so you had white people arming ourselves. You had white people donating millions of dollars to the killer cop, Darren Wilson. And then white people that were in opposition to it didn't have the leadership of the party to understand that the solution is reparations. And that's what white solidarity looks like. And so they were left to the white left, which Chairman Amali Shatella has defined as the left wing of white power, who are entrenched in an anti-racist politic, where it's white people centering ourselves and saying that, that unlearning racism is what we need to be doing, or holding up a Black Lives Matter sign at a protest and then going back home. That's not solidarity. So solidarity looks like paying reparations to a project in St. Louis like the Black Power Blueprint, which is a concrete Black self-determination projects. So we're going to show you all some pictures. So I want to show you what the Black Power Blueprint looked like before, this is one of the institutions of the Black Power Blueprint, which is the Uhuru House. And this is, this shows the conditions of the African community. There are 25,000 and more abandoned buildings in St. Louis as a consequence of the white flight. White people left St. Louis in response to the rising civil rights movement and Black Power movements and took all the resources with us, depopulated the city by 2/3, and then left poverty, abandoned buildings, and police containment for the Black community to have to deal with and struggle with. And, St. Louis was once the 5th largest city in the U.S., and African people went there during the Reconstruction period to build an economic life for themselves. But that was destroyed with the help of white people and counterinsurgency and us abandoning the Black community. And then now you have it, so we're coming back into the Black community as gentrifiers and pushing them out. So this is why the Black Power Blueprint is so important, because with a building like this, where you had people living in, there was clear signs that people had to live in these abandoned buildings because of the lack of economic development. So there were mattresses, there were baby diapers, there were needles. It had been abandoned for 12 years. And now, after Deputy Chair, and I really have to salute Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, who came in here, showed amazing, amazing leadership, has been building relationships with the community, showing the community that political and economic self-determination for the Black working class looks like building institutions that allow the resources and the labor value of the workers of the community to stay within the community. And that's what the Uhuru House is all about. I mean, it's not even done yet, but you can see, there's bricks all over the ground. It's dusty. There's no real wall. And now you have the Mexican contractors, the Deputy Chair hired, that installed the drywall. You had a white painters union that Kitty Riley helped win to donate their labor and paint as a stand of reparations. You have this beautiful open ceiling now that's painted Black. You have the HVAC unit installed. You have a stage. And on that, I wanted to, add that it's also really amazing to see the volunteer work days where the community comes together and seeing African children that are really excited about getting to paint the stage because they know that this center is for their community and they got to play a role in helping build it. So that was from one of the volunteer work days where, you had some comrades from Ann Hirsch from St. Pete came up. There's Kake on the right. His son in the middle. We have Makeda and T'Charwa, and it's just amazing to see how this is very much struggling to build this project brick by brick, dollar by dollar, all from the people. And just a couple more pictures I want to show because I know we're a little over time. Just the electricians. Deputy Chair is an amazing community organizer that really struggles to find workers from within the community to show them how they can get jobs from this project that goes into actually building their own community and benefiting their community instead of going into another community, instead of capital extraction where the resources just leave and go benefit the white community. So those are some of the workers. Here's where they were fixing up the windows. This is some workers working on the facade of the building. It's just amazing to see this. I'm just so honored to be here and see this project come to life. This is Jay and Gary who are helping fix up the windows. And Jay, said something about how much it meant for him to see the picture of Africa on the front of the building. And I just thought that was really powerful. Deputy Chair also hired 2 brothers that owned their own business in their 20s, and they did the acid washing on the exposed brick on the inside. And that's what the outside looks like. You can see the Uhuru House coming soon, and the community is abuzz. They're like, the Uhuru House, what's that? And to see Kalambai and Danette, who's the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, going out to Christmas parties and to community events to talk about what's happening. People are so excited about this because this is the most significant positive thing to come out of the murder of Mike Brown. So I know I've overtalked, but definitely go like the Black Power Blueprint Facebook page. It is so exciting what's happening. And I'm just really happy to be here and be a part of it.
Girl, thank you, KC. And we are a bit over time. Can you tell people about just briefly, the live, actually the webinar that's happening on Friday? Really quick.
Yes. So on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, there's going to be a webinar called Live from St. Louis, From Resistance to Self-Determination. It will be myself, Kitty Riley, who's played a huge role as a Solidarity member in helping complete the Uhuru House, and also Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela is going to be our MC, and she is the architect of the Black Power Blueprint. So you've got to tune into this webinar. It's going to go live from the Black Power Blueprint Facebook page, and you will hear just straight from her, the vision that she had for turning these abandoned buildings into institutions of self-determination for the Black community, and how that's actually coming along. Because the Uhuru movement never just talks. Everything that the Uhuru movement says it's going to do, it does. And it's because of leaders like Deputy Chair that's a reality. The other speakers will also be Kalambai and Danette, who I mentioned is an amazing president of Impedum and doing amazing work to bring in volunteers to this project, and also to Charwa Masimba, who is brilliant leader in African People's Education Defense Fund, and also the volunteer coordinator for the work days at the new Uhuru House. So you don't want to miss it.
Thank you so much, Comrade KC. Thank you, Kunde Mwamvita, and also, again, just saluting all the comrades out in St. Louis. Salute to the leadership of Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela and Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And I really want to appreciate everybody who's been viewing this so far, who's been really sticking with us. And this has been an amazing, powerful webinar. And I just want to go ahead and talk about, what you can do to support this campaign, the 3DBG campaign, which is, the demands that this campaign has are demands that are forwarding Duel and Contending Power. And part of those demands not only is to get Sheriff Bob Gualtieri fired. We got a $31 pledge from Mara and in Boston. Mara's in Boston. Solidarity member in Boston, Uhuru Mara, thank you so much for your pledge. And so anybody want to follow up with Mara, follow Mara's footsteps? She says, I pledged $31, $1 for every day this month to 3DBG. Just a tiny contribution in the face of a huge need to return resources to the African community. Uhuru, so $31 for 31 days. Thank you so much, comrade. And everybody, this is the time right now. Justice number 4, DominiqueBattle.com, and let us know if you're going to be contributing, because I want to be able to, shout you out. And as I was saying, in terms of the demands of this campaign, we want Sheriff Killer Bob Gualtieri. We wanted him fired, but we want him in prison, and we want him to feel the pain that this African mother and all African children and this community has had to feel when they stole Dominique, Lanai, and Ashanti away from us. We want all those sheriff's deputies involved in their murders indicted, criminal charges, and we want Black community control of the police. We want to be able to hire, fire, train, and discipline those who should function within our community as the police. Uhuru, salute to Bobby Wittenberg with 100 smackaroonies, $100. Just returned $100 in resources stolen by white power from African people. White people, please match me and join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement at uhurusolidarity.org. Right on. Thank you so much, Comrade Bobby. Bobby Wittenberg with a 100. Thank you so much. Somebody's matching Mara. Diane Batiste. Uhuru Diane with $31 for 31 days. Uhuru, thank you so much, Diane Batiste. I hope I'm saying her last name right. Thank you so much, comrades. So we got Mara 31, 100 from Bobby, and 31 from Diane Baptiste. I'm going to have that up later. Can't do it on my head right now. Can't do it. But I really want to salute comrades who have, taken a step forward for white people paying reparations and the responsibility of white people to support this campaign and, and to show material support through reparations to African people. And, I want to talk about these legal fees a little bit because not only does, oh, we got a match. Evan Garner matching Mara. Mara, you really set a trend here. $31, 31 days. Okay. And that was Evan Garner says on Thursday, pledges for Thursday, $31 for 31 days. I like that. I like it a lot. Keep it coming. I like the $31 for 31 days. Salute, comrades. But back to the legal fees. So not only do they murder African people, and, they commit these crimes against African people. And just a whole other crime afterwards to even, because, one, we know the court systems don't work for African people. And in fact, we don't go to the courtroom expecting for white power to just be able to, hand us a victory, that we think that they're going to, you pleaded a very, real case. We have all the evidence because all the evidence in the world does not need to be presented for them to know they killed those girls. They know they killed those girls. That's why they had to, come back and start to wield the slander machine. They had to get with the Tampa Bay Slime newspaper here, and they had to go ahead and start pushing out this narrative because they know they killed those girls. They know they killed those girls because they all had, mismatching stories. And then Gaultier just said, okay, well, it went from, they did try to say those girls too. Well, they couldn't because the water was too murky. And, and we don't need no damn evidence. All the evidence points to, we don't need no judge to say it for us. We don't need no damn we don't need nobody to say it for us. They are guilty. They are guilty. Hell, they were guilty before they pushed those girls in that damn pond. They were guilty for just being in the African community, and because that was their intent. They were preparing to do that. And, they, from the start, these pigs were guilty for the murder of these African children. And then you have to go through this whole process of having to prove something we already know. We already know. Hold up. Okay. Oh, Veros. That's Valerie, right? The crew of Valerie. Is that Boston?
Yeah.
New York. Matching Mara with $31. Thank you.
269.
Ooh, 269 to go, y'all. We can do that today. Valerie says, oh, dang it, I missed it. No, come back. Oh, no. Okay, I'm also matching Diana Mara with $31. Killer Bob's days are numbered. Justice for Dominique Battle, Lanaya Miller, and Ashanti Butler, and salute to the Committee for Justice for the 3 drowned Black girls. Salute Akile and Kunde Mwamvita. Salute Black Power Blueprint and Deputy Chair Onas and Ashatella Uhuru. That is right. Uhuru. Thank you so much. So going back to so we got to go through this whole process. You have to go through a deposition, and you have to get all these investigators to go wade in the water to prove something that we already know. And all of that is $18,000 to prove that we already know these people murdered these girls. And again, we're not expecting no handout, no victory from the court system just based on moral and ethics and those kinds of things. We have to wage a serious political campaign. We have to have masses of people united around those girls were murdered, and we want to see justice in the form of the immediate indictment of Gaultier, of all those killer deputies, and we want to see Black community control of the police and reparations to these families. That has to be a serious campaign that we wage. That's what these webinars are for. That's what we're doing this right now, to be able to control the narrative, to be able to say, this is what happened, this is the reality, this is what we have to do to, overturn this also. $18,000, and we're just saying we need to raise $500 tonight. So can anybody, continue on? Remember, justice number 4, DominiqueBattle.com. Justice number 4, DominiqueBattle.com. Go to that website. Donate, donate, donate. Donate today. Donate tomorrow. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell everybody. Mom and dad. This campaign is serious. And we're talking about building dual and contending power. We're talking about fighting for justice for African children. We have to go support this campaign. We have to go to justice4DominiqueBattle.com. If you're white, mother, father, we really need to support reparations to African people and a future for African children, because we don't want murder in our name anymore. So mother and father, you need to go to justice4DominiqueBattle.com. That needs to be the mission today and every day, and getting people to support this campaign. Do I have anybody else, on this webinar who wants to go ahead? I see Mirda pledging $20. Uhuru to Mirda. Oh, we got 10 from KC. Mira says, pledging $20, Uhuru, hashtag jail killer Bob, hashtag black community control of the police. Right on, comrade, I unite. I'm gonna go ahead and pledge $20 today. That's gonna be from good old Akile, right there, Guru Pa, $20 supporting this campaign. And so do I have anybody else who wants to do another $31 for 31 days? That seems to be the trend. Hashtag $31 for 31 days. Hashtag justice for the 3 drowned Black girls. So again, justice4DominiqueBattle.com. If you want to donate anonymously, you can do that too. We're not opposed to anonymous. You don't want to let everybody know what you got. Go ahead, anonymously donate. But anything that you can to contribute to this campaign, anything that you can to show support. And as it was already said, get to St. Louis. Get to St. Louis and get on the ground. Volunteer with Black Power Blueprint. If you're here in St. Pete, come to the Uhuru House, 1245 Tyrone Lewis, otherwise known as 18th Avenue South. Come to the Uhuru House. Come talk to Kunde about the Vendors Association team, and start getting with these projects, these real projects that are in your interest. Don't work for anybody else. Don't work for no parties. It's very, it's a whole transparent process. We're talking about what we're doing. We are, we're more than just protests. We're more than just any of that. We're talking about building real institutions of power, building the capacity to be self-governing. We're doing that. So come and be a part of these institutions. If you're in Oakland, they'll go to the Oakland Uhuru House and get familiar with what's going on there. If you're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, get to go shop at a Uhuru Furniture Store and Collectibles, and see what's going on there. And because we're everywhere, we're growing, we're multiplying, and you just need to get connected with this movement, and see what's going on, see how you can get involved, see how you can volunteer or even join, because we are winning, we're building these institutions. So I'm gonna do a last call for anyone. Let's make this goal tonight to go to justice4DominiqueBattle.com. Anybody want to match, any of the pledges? We got 31, we got 100. Anybody want to match $100 from by Bobby? Shout out to Bobby again. Or anybody want to match the $31 for 31 days, or anything that you contribute, $5, anything is, we just really appreciate anything a part of this committee. So. All right. And again, I'm just going to keep saying it. So it's in your dreams. When you close your eyes, and the last thing you'll hear is justice4DominiqueBattle.com, because that's what has to be on our hearts and minds. Because we know when African children have justice, we know because African people are free. Freedom has to be on our mind 24/7. See how I connected that? Boom. So make sure you hit up that site. And if you can't do it today, do it tomorrow, and get everybody you know and love to that site. Become a part of this work. You can even join the 3DBG committee. You can email us, contact us at justice3dbg@npdum.org. If you want to join, if you want to get connected with this committee, see what you can do to be a part of it and to fight from wherever you are, because our committee members are everywhere. St. Louis, New Jersey, Boston, everywhere we have our committee is located, because we can all do our part and fight for African children, no matter where we are in this world. So I want to salute everyone. Oh, we got $10 from Renee, Uhuru, $10, reparations now. Thank you, Renee. We got 20 from Kunde Mwamvita. $301. Who got $200? Who got 200? Just drop it. Just 200. I know you got it. You white, I know you, because $200 is really not a lot, and in the white community, $200 is like ain't nothing. $200 is nothing in the white community. So, but Olafin, Comrade Olafin, that's what I'm talking about. $31, 31 days. Yes, keep this trend. I like this trend. I like it. We gotta do something with that. Uhuru. Yes, Olafin. Come through. My comrades. Yes, Uhuru. I can do 31 today, Uhuru. Thank you, comrade. Come on, y'all. Who got it? Who got it? Who got the 200? Who got the $31 for 31 days? Who got it? I know you got it. I know your pockets are itching to say, I just want to give everything I have to this campaign, and I'm going to just give what I can right now, okay? Uhuru, our committee, I'm based in St. Petersburg, Florida. Again, our committee members exist in various places or in this country, and we are all part of one committee. So that being said, if you're in Indiana, you can be a part of the 3DBG committee. We can all work together, part of the 3DBG committee. We make this work happen everywhere it is that we are. So if you are interested, please let us know in the comments. We will get in contact with you, or you can visit justice3dbg@impedum.org. But if you're interested in joining this committee, yes, Indiana, come on, bring Indiana into the equation. Let's do it. Let's bring 3DBG to Indiana. We did a tour where Kunde Mwamvita and the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Hold on, sis. I'm gonna get back to that question. We got $200 from Diane Batiste plus her 31. So that brings Diane Batiste to $231. $532. Y'all, we did it! Hooray! That wasn't a surprise stream because I knew we could do it. Okay, that was like I'm joyful. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Comrade Diane. And I don't want to not say what I was starting to say. We had a tour, Kunde Mwamvita, Columbai, and Danette. And they toured, in these various cities where supporters of the 3DBG campaign existed, where the Uhuru movement existed, where we could host these beautiful, amazing comrades. And so wherever it is that we are, we can get, Kunde there, we can get myself, we can get people there to come speak and, really wage this campaign wherever it is that we are. So we need you in Indiana. We need you in these various places because we need to bring Kunde there. We need to bring this message of justice for the 3 drowned Black girls there. We need to do that. So shout out to you, comrade. Shout out to Comrade Diane and everybody who donated, y'all. But for all, who did donate, okay, don't let Diane outshine y'all because y'all can still do it too. Y'all can still donate, okay? So remember, justice number 4, DominiqueBattle.com. Salute to Comrade Diane Batiste. Really appreciate you and everybody who donated. Mara for starting this trend of $31 in 31 days. We sticking with that for the next webinar. I hope y'all know. KC, write that down because it's popping back up. All right, comrades, it has been amazing, and we'll see you all next month for our 5th webinar episode. And we'll come back with you with a very dynamic program. And also, in spirit of African Martyrs Day, I just want to say that Dominique Battle, Lanaya Miller, and Ashanti Butler are martyrs of the African community. They are our martyrs, and we really salute them, uphold them every single day. No matter how African people are taken from us, these are the people we have to uphold within our community. All the Pookies and the Ray Rays and all the Africans lost in horizontal violence, because that's all a part of the colonial conditions. And we're leaving off with another donation from Fallon with $31, Uhuru Fallon. But I just want to say, in celebration of African Martyrs Day coming up, all of these Africans are our martyrs, and we must hold them up. So we do that. So when I say a name, I need y'all to say long live. Dominique Battle.
Long live.
Lanaya Miller.
Long live.
Ashanti Butler.
Long live.
Uhuru. We'll see you all next month. Uhuru.